Welcome back to my channel. Today we will finally talk about the Spanish Pyrenees, one of my all-time favorite travel destinations. If you are new to this channel, I'm Anna. I run a Spain travel blog called At Lifestyle Crossroads, and I've lived in Spain for 15 years. And the Pyrenees is just one of those places I feel like I'm gravitating to. So I visited many times, and as I share all those experiences on my website, I do get asked a lot of questions about the Pyrenees. So today I thought I would answer the most popular questions. I have them printed. In case you have other questions, something I will not cover in this video, just feel free to drop them in the comments and I will reply. And also in the description you will find lots of articles on my blog about the Pyrenees, about different areas of the Pyrenees, the most beautiful places, where to stay, and my favorite hikes. So all of that you can find in the description. And as well, I'm working on my own Pyrenees guide. It's not ready yet, but once I will have it ready, I will also add the link to this video. So let's start with your questions. Common question I get asked is whether you do need to have a car to visit the Pyrenees. Yes, unfortunately, yes. Technically, you can reach the main towns like Huesca, or there is Sant train station, and then you can travel by bus from there, but it's not worth it. It's not practical because the bus schedule is like you have one bus or two buses per day to those small towns in the Pyrenees. Almost impossible. Just rent a car. As for X4, for the hikes I mentioned on the blog, you don't actually need it because the roads are well maintained. Winter is the only season where it may snow, so you might need 4x4, but if you're just visiting the Pyrenees for hiking, just normal car is okay. Because Torla Ordesa, where you leave your car to go to Ordesa and Monte Perdido National Park, and then for Aigües Tortes National Park, I think it's Boy, the small town where you leave your car. So don't worry, you will just leave your car at the parking and then probably take the official bus to the park. Some hikes have their own parking, so you can just leave your car and walk from there. So no need to worry about driving. What is the best base for the Spanish Pyrenees? There is no one single base to explore everything. I usually say choose one base per 3-4 days. For example, if you're a first-time visitor, Viella in the Catalan Pyrenees is a good base because it's a town, so you will have restaurants, but any small town actually in that area is okay. And then if you're visiting the Pyrenees of Aragon, Torla Ordesa, Broto, Aïnsa, there are lots of small towns in that area. I would say choose the area based on the hikes you want to experience the most. Another question I get asked a lot about the best hikes in the Spanish Pyrenees. There are lots of hikes. I mean, there are probably 10 most famous hikes. I know people who live in the Pyrenees and then go hiking every weekend and they still haven't done all the hikes. So yeah, just keep this information present. I will leave you the link to the most famous hikes in the description. I would say if you're visiting for the first time, definitely Cola de Caballo is the most famous hike, but don't do it the official way. Go through Senda de los Cazadores. When you get to the hike, you will have one indicator to Cola de Caballo and another one to Senda de los Cazadores. If you go to Senda de los Cazadores, it's a bit more challenging, but it's probably one of the most complete hikes in the Pyrenees. Again, I talk about this hike and all the directions on the blog, so you will find the link in the description. Siete Lagos de Astún, 7 Lakes of Astún. This is the trail that starts at the Astún ski station, and it is so special because it makes you cross Spain-France border many times, and my phone was like crazy, welcome to Spain, welcome to France. But it was such a cool experience, and you visit all the mountain lakes. Again, quite challenging, this hike, I would say medium level, but spectacular. Cañón de Añisclo is another really beautiful hike, and there are options to make it an easy walk. There is not much parking there, but you would need to go early for this one. Estany de Maurici, it has a long name. I will leave it in the description. It's in the Catalan Pyrenees, Tortes National Park. It's spectacular. Another beautiful hike. You leave your car at the village of Boy, and from there you take the official bus. The official bus is usually, I think it was 8 euros when I visited a few years ago. But yeah, the prices might change. Also, you will need to take a bus if you will go to Cola de Caballo, the most famous hike. It's in Torla Ordesa, the small town where you leave your car and you take the official bus. And I think last summer I visited and it was around €6. The airports. I often get asked like how to plan the trip to the Pyrenees. Should I fly to Barcelona, to Madrid? On the blog, I have one itinerary from Barcelona and another one from Madrid. So you can do one of these or you can combine both. Basically in those itineraries I also add everything that's on the road to the Pyrenees, so you can just do some hiking on the way to the mountain range. But yes, usually if you go for Catalan Pyrenees, the most typical place to fly in is Barcelona. But basically the roads are in great condition, so if you want to fly to any other airport in Spain and just do a road trip and see something on the road, that's also a popular thing to do if you're heading to the Pyrenees. I often get asked about the wildlife in the Pyrenees. A few years ago, someone from Australia wrote me asking about snakes, and I really got scared. I was like, do we have dangerous snakes? You might see deers, you might see birds of prey. I saw ponies in the Pyrenees of Navarra, those are cute. Also, there is a park called La Cunyacha where they have rescued animals in the Pyrenees. So I think there was one bear there, and yeah, basically there are not so many bears left in the Pyrenees, so it's not like hiking in Canada where you need to have a spray for bears. No, so no dangerous wildlife so far as I know, and I've never experienced anything like that. Are Pyrenees good for the family trip? Absolutely. I visited with my kids many times. They loved it. You just need to be careful with hikes because some hikes are more challenging than others. Again, on the blog I have an article about Pyrenees with kids. Go there and get ideas. A few years ago, I even visited the Pyrenees with my senior in-laws, and they're not into hiking, but they decided they wanted to go to the Pyrenees. Basically, even if you are not in the mood for hiking, maybe don't mind some walking, but you just enjoy nature and want a quiet mountain getaway, that's also an option for the Pyrenees. Andorra is not a bad option because, yeah, you can do some museums, some churches. Then the next option for me would be the Catalan Pyrenees and Vall de Boí. This is the area where they have lots of ancient Romanesque churches. I think there are probably 7 churches that are open all year round, and those were absolutely spectacular. It's one of the most stunning landmarks in the Pyrenees. Skiing in the Pyrenees. What are the best ski resorts? The most famous ski resorts are Grandvalira in Andorra, Baqueira-Beret in the Catalan Pyrenees, and Formigal. So Grandvalira and Baqueira-Beret, this is where I did some skiing, some of the top-rated ski stations in Europe. Lots of people love it. So I enjoyed skiing there. I do not go skiing every winter because my husband does not ski. So last winter breaks to the Pyrenees, we would just go to Andorra because there are more things to do in Andorra. But a few years ago, I also went with my parents, and my parents love skiing, so we did some skiing. And yes, I really liked skiing in Baqueira and loved skiing in Grandvalira in Andorra, but I felt like Andorra was more busy. Yeah, if I had to plan another trip in the Spanish Pyrenees, I would probably go to Baqueira-Beret. For Miguel, I've only visited this station in summer, so I have no experience of skiing there. Another popular question, how many days do you need to see the Spanish Pyrenees? I would say anything from 3 days. That will feel like a nature unplug kind of trip, to 2 weeks to get a general idea, because if you go for 3 days you just choose one area of the Spanish Pyrenees. The Spanish Pyrenees is a huge mountain range, so there are different Spanish regions. There are Pyrenees of Catalonia, Pyrenees of Aragon, Pyrenees of Navarra, and there is a bit of Pyrenees in the Basque country. I would say my favorites are probably the Pyrenees of Aragon. Those are less popular for international travelers, except for Ordesa y Monte Perdido. This national park is popular for international travelers, but the rest of the hikes there, you can enjoy them all year round and have all this beautiful nature almost to yourself. The Catalan Pyrenees and Val d'Aran, This area is way more popular for international travelers. Then you have the Pyrenees of Navarra. This is probably the greenest area of the Pyrenees. You have Selva de Irati, which is a stunning forest, one of the most beautiful ones in Spain. So yes, it's green, but it's also the rainiest. It's one of the rainiest places in Spain. So it's tricky to plan a trip there. For the first time, I would say go either to Ordesa National Park or go to the Catalan Pyrenees. I often get asked if people speak English. I mean, if you traveled in Spain, besides Madrid, Barcelona, or Andalusia, you can imagine that Spanish people do not speak English a lot. Younger generations are better with English. But for example, my Spanish mother-in-law, she used to learn French in school, not English. So English is quite recent. So of course, in hotels, in most restaurants, they will speak English. The Catalan Pyrenees, they speak English. In the Aragon Pyrenees, I've seen the situation where even in the tourist offices, they do not speak English. But this shouldn't scare you because you just do your planning. Basically, it's really straightforward. You wake up, have breakfast in your hotel, you go to the parking of the hike you choose, you leave your car and you just go hiking. So you basically do not need to interact a lot. Actually, all the hikes are really well marked. On the blog, you can also find links to Wikiloc, where if you use any kind of navigation software and you feel more comfortable this way, download it from Wikiloc. I think it's free. I often get asked about Spanish and French Pyrenees. What is the difference? Can you visit both? Is there a border between them? If you want to visit both, I would say the easiest place to go is somewhere near Sant Panticosa. You have around 40 minutes to the French border, and yes, you can cross the border easily. Personally, I'm not an expert in the French Pyrenees. I visit the Spanish Pyrenees because I still haven't seen everything I wanted in the Spanish Pyrenees. And I'm told many times by fellow Pyrenees fans that Spanish Pyrenees are cheaper and Spanish Pyrenees are less known internationally, so most international travelers will go to the French Pyrenees. The hike I want to do is Cirque du Gavarnie. I think it's called this way. That's the one on my bucket list. I've heard it's very touristy, but still I want to do it. But the rest of my bucket list actually are mostly still the hikes in the Spanish Pyrenees, despite the fact that I visited many times. And the last question I often get asked is about the best season to visit the Pyrenees. I mean, I think I probably visited almost during every season so far. So my personal favorites would be September for late summer hiking, because it's not as crowded as in August or July, but then the weather is still really nice, so it feels like summer. And I would say my second favorite is end of October. Last year I had an amazing trip. I think it was beginning of November, end of October, just to enjoy the fall foliage in the Pyrenees. It's one of the most beautiful places in Spain to enjoy the fall foliage. Another moment I enjoyed visiting Pyrenees was June, because June is still, my kids, for example, they finish school by the end of June. So June is still, especially at the beginning of June, is usually the month where you get the good weather, but nowhere is still crowded because it's not a vacation month yet. I also liked visiting in April, May. The trickiest months where you really need to be careful are November, like late November, and March, because it is in between the seasons and you don't know yet what the weather will be like. It's global warming everywhere, so lately we do not get that much snow in the Pyrenees as we used to here in Spain many years ago. But still, I remember years it was snowing in the end of November and it was snowing in March, though normally it might rain, so it's not really a nice weather to plan a hiking trip. Winter getaway, I would say obviously December, January, February, and the rest of the year it's mostly hiking. So I hope this video was helpful and you will have an amazing trip to the Pyrenees. Once again, all the itineraries and tips on the blog, I will leave the links in the description. And if by chance I did not answer your question about the Pyrenees, just drop it in the comments below.